The envelope slid across the polished conference table and stopped right in front of me. Inside was a contract worth more money than I had ever seen in my life. But the words printed on the page made my hands shake. It wasn't a job offer. It wasn't a promotion. It was a proposal. My boss wanted to pay me to be her husband for 1 year. Have you ever been so desperate that a choice you once thought impossible suddenly seemed reasonable? If you were drowning in debt, trying to keep your family afloat, what would you have done? My name is Ryan, and 3 years ago, I faced that exact question. I lived in Chicago, working long hours as an accountant for a successful real estate company. The paycheck covered rent and groceries, but barely. After my father passed away from a long illness, I inherited thousands of dollars in medical bills. My younger sister was still in college, and I was helping her stay enrolled. Every month felt like a battle I was slowly losing. That was when Victoria entered my life. She was the CEO of the company, smart, respected, and intimidating. At 34, she had built an empire from almost nothing. Employees admired her success but feared her cold professionalism. She rarely smiled and never shared personal details. One rainy evening, after everyone else had gone home, she called me into her office. I assumed I had made a mistake in a financial report. Instead, she handed me that contract. Victoria explained that her grandfather was dying. He had built the family business and wanted to see her married before he passed away. For years, she had avoided relationships because she was consumed by work. Now she was running out of time. Her solution was simple. She would pay me enough money to erase my debts and secure my sister's education. In return, I would become her husband for 1 year. We would live together, attend family events, and convince everyone the marriage was real. At the end of 12 months, we would quietly divorce. The offer sounded insane, yet as I stared at the number written in the contract, I thought about overdue bills collection notices and my sister's future. I thought about how exhausted I was from constantly struggling. A week later, I signed. The wedding took place in a small church outside the city. Only close family members attended. Victoria's grandfather smiled through tears as he watched us exchange rings. I remember looking at her during the ceremony. She looked beautiful, but there was sadness behind her eyes. For a brief moment, I wondered if she was as trapped as I felt. The first months were awkward. We shared a luxurious apartment overlooking the Chicago skyline. Yet it felt colder than any place I had ever lived. We ate meals in silence. We followed schedules. We acted like business partners completing an assignment. Victoria spent most nights working late. I spent most nights wondering how my life had become so strange. Then something unexpected happened. One evening, I returned home and found her sitting alone on the balcony. She wasn't working. She wasn't talking on the phone. She was crying. I almost walked away. Instead, I sat beside her. For the first time, she told me about her life. Her mother had died when she was young. Her father cared more about success than family. Every achievement she earned only brought higher expectations. She had spent years building walls around herself, because vulnerability always seemed to lead to disappointment. That night, I shared my own struggles, the debts, the grief, the fear of failing the people I loved. For the first time, our fake marriage felt less fake. Weeks turned into months. Slowly, we became friends. Then best friends. We started having breakfast together every morning. We watched movies on weekends. We laughed about things that would have seemed impossible during those early months. The apartment began to feel like a home. One winter night, a snowstorm trapped us inside. The power went out. Wrapped in blankets beside a fireplace, we spent hours talking about dreams we had abandoned years ago. Victoria admitted she had always wanted a family but convinced herself she didn't deserve one. I admitted I was terrified of being alone. The silence that followed felt different, comfortable, warm, dangerous. Because for the first time I realized I was falling in love with my wife. The problem was she wasn't really my wife, at least not forever. As the months passed, those feelings grew stronger. I noticed the way she smiled when she thought no one was watching. The way she remembered small details about everyone she cared about. The way she quietly donated money to struggling employees without ever taking credit. The cold, intimidating CEO everyone feared wasn't who she truly was. Behind the walls was a woman with a deeply kind heart, and I loved her, but our contract still existed. Every time I looked at it, reality came crashing back. Eventually, the final month arrived. Victoria's grandfather had passed away peacefully, believing his granddaughter had found happiness. The purpose of our arrangement was complete. One evening, she placed divorce papers on the kitchen table. Neither of us spoke. The silence felt unbearable. For nearly a year, we had built a life together. Now we were supposed to walk away as if none of it mattered. I signed my name. My hand trembled the entire time. Victoria took the papers and quietly left the room. That night, neither of us slept. The next morning, I packed my belongings. Every box felt heavier than the last. As I carried the final suitcase toward the door, Victoria appeared in the hallway. For a moment, neither of us moved. Then I saw tears in her eyes. Real tears. The kind that come from a broken heart. And suddenly I understood. She wasn't losing a contract. She was losing someone she loved. Just like I was. The suitcase slipped from my hand. Months of hidden emotions came crashing to the surface. All the walls we had carefully maintained finally collapsed. The fear of rejection no longer mattered. The contract no longer mattered. The ending we had planned no longer mattered. What mattered was the truth. Somewhere along the way, our fake marriage had become real. Not because of the rings, not because of the paperwork, but because two wounded people had slowly healed each other. The divorce papers were never filed. Instead, we started over, this time without contracts, without conditions, without expiration dates. A year later, we stood in the same church where our story began. Only this time, there were no hidden agreements. No pretending, no acting. Just two people choosing each other completely. Today, whenever I look across the dinner table and see Victoria laughing with our children, I think about that envelope sliding toward me years ago. What looked like a business arrangement became the greatest blessing of my life. Sometimes love doesn't arrive the way we expect. Sometimes it hides. Inside second chances, impossible choices, and relationships that begin for all the wrong reasons. And sometimes the person standing beside you is exactly where your heart was always meant to be. Before this story ends, tell me in the comments, do you believe true love can grow from something that started completely fake? And if this story touched your heart, please like, comment, share, and subscribe so more people can experience stories about hope, healing, and the incredible power of second chances.